Hi guys, this is going to be this is chapter 1 test part 4. So let's get started. So yeah, this is part 4 of chapter 1 test, and now we're going to do the opposite besides factoring. Now we're going to actually compute the product. So it's like going backwards or forwards. So the first problem says we got to multiply 9x minus y times, this is a 9, not q, 9x plus y. So I got to actually, we're not going to factor, we're actually foiling. Yeah, we're multiplying. So you could do the old-fashioned way, multiplying each step, right? Or if you remember my videos on factoring polynomials, factoring foiling polynomials, this is what's called, you can use the rule called, this is what's called the perfect square. Perfect square, right? And remember, the perfect square looks like this, and you can always check out my video on factoring and foiling polynomials. So this is the perfect square because this part looks like this side, right? The 9x, the only difference is their signs are different. This is a negative and this is a positive. This has to stay the same. It has to be a 9x and it has to be a 9x. And this has to be a y and this has to be a y. So it looks like this now. We just gotta figure out our a. So my a is 9x and then my b is just y. So we got to make it look like this, the right side. So it's a squared minus b squared. So what did we say our a is? Our a is 9x. And then I got to square that minus b squared. What did our b is? Our b is y. And then we got to square that. So let's simplify this. What's 9x to the second power? So we're going to square both the 9 and the x. So this is going to be 81 x squared minus y squared. So this is your final answer. Yeah, so it's pretty simple when you know the rules. It goes much faster. So let's do part B. Let's say you're given 2ab minus 3 squared, right? So we got to FOIL it out. Yeah, we got to multiply it out. Yeah, we're not factoring or foiling it. So what you can do is you can actually do the long way, right? 2ab minus 3. The long ways, and then you FOIL it out, right? Or you could do the shortcut way, which I'm going to do. So this is what's called the perfect square trinomial. So the perfect square trinomial looks something like this. A squared minus 2ab plus b squared equals a minus b. So when you do this, you got to figure out does it look like the right side or the left side? This part looks exactly like the right side, right? So we just got to make it look like the left side, and then we got to figure out what's our a and b. So let's figure out our a and b. I'm going to say my a is 2ab. Yeah, it's exactly like this form, so we just have to, it's actually given. So our a is just 2ab, and then my b is just 3, right? Because it looks like this. Now we just gotta make it look like the left side. So it's our a squared, we gotta do a squared, so it's 2ab, and then you gotta square that, minus 2 times ab. So our a is 2 times AB, and then times it by b, which is 3, plus b squared, which is 3, and then you square that. So let's simplify. This, we got to square this, so we're squaring everything, the 2 and the a and the b, so it's going to be 2 squared is 4, and then a to the second power is a squared, and then b to the second power is b squared, minus, now we got to factorial this out, so it's 2 times 2 times 3, which is, and then you have a negative, so it's negative 6, and then you're left with AB, right? Wait, did I make a mistake? No, I did not make a mistake. Yeah, I was just looking at my paper and yeah. So you're left with 2 times 2, which is 4, times by 3 is negative 6, and then you're left with AB. Good. And then you're left with 3 squared is 9, so it's just like that. So when you FOIL it out, this is what you're going to get. So yeah, this is pretty much like a shortcut if you're interested. And if you really just don't want to FOIL out, you could take the long way and just FOIL it out individually, right? 2 times AB, you're going to get the same answer. So that was B. Let's do C. We're left with 2a plus 3 cubed. So you're going to FOIL it out. You could, I don't want to do it the long way, so I'm going to do a shortcut. And this is what's called the sum of two cubes. Sum of two cubes looks something like this. A plus b raised to the third power equals a plus b, and then times it by a squared minus ab plus b squared. So this is what's called the sum of two cubes, and so you got to figure out which side does it look like, the right or the left. So this one looks exactly like the left. So we got to make it look like the right, and then before we do that, we got to figure out my a and my b. So my a is going to be just 2a. It's actually given, right? So it's in this form, so our a is just 2a, and my b is just 3. So let's make it, now we're just going to make it look like the right, so it's going to be a is 2a plus b, I'm putting it in this form, b is 3, times by a squared, so I'm not going to do it all at once, I'm just going to do 2a, then you have to square that, minus a times b, which is 2a times it by 3, plus b squared, so our b is 3, so you got to square that. Now we can simplify. So this is going to be 2a plus 3, because this is the most simplified to b, and then 2a squared, so you're going to square both two parts, the 2 and the a, so 2 squared is 4, and then a to the second power is a squared. You're going to multiply 3 times 2 times a, and then you have a negative, so it's going to be negative 6a. Plus 9. You guys, actually, you didn't have to do this part. There was a simpler, easier part. Since it looks like this, we can make, remember we're cubing this part, so it's going to be, our a is 2a, and we got to cube that. Actually, you could have done it this part, and you'll still end up getting this part. And then our b is 3, and then you got to cube that. See, I'm using this part. So 2a cubed is 8. A cubed plus, and then 3 squared is 9. Actually, so let's say you didn't, let's say you did FOIL this out, 2a cubed plus 3. It's just going to take longer, but you're still going to get a cubed. Yeah, because when you FOIL this out, you're going to get, the reason why you're going to get a cubed, you're going to get, if you FOIL this out, you get a cubed minus 12a squared plus 18a plus 12a squared minus 18a plus 27, right? Things cancels, right? You're this 12a, this 12a, this 18a, 18a. You're left with a cubed and 27. So this 3 cubed is not 9, it's actually 27. So that's your final answer. 8a cubed plus 27. Okay, that was C. Let's do D. So you're going to multiply square root of x minus square root of 3 times it by square root of x plus square root of 3. You can actually multiply it, FOIL it out, but I know there's a simpler way. This is called the perfect square. This is a plus b times a minus b equals a squared minus b squared. So let's see here. Yeah, this is perfect square, so we gotta figure out which side does it look like. It looks like this part, right? This part, this looks like this. So we're just gonna make it look like the right side. So first we gotta figure out my a. My a is square root of x, and my b is square root of 3. So we got to do a squared minus b squared, so it's going to be a squared, which is square root of x squared, minus square root of b, which is square root of 3, and then you got to square that. And remember, when you square a radical, you're just left with, the radical disappears, so you're left with x. So the same concept with here, so you're just left with x minus the radical disappears because we're squaring it, so it's going to be x minus 3. So that's your final answer. So yes, the rules comes in handy. What about this part, e? X to the 1/2 minus y to the 1/2. Multiply this by x to the 1/2 plus y to the 1/2. So this 2 again is a perfect square. You could, if you don't, yeah, it's a perfect square because the signs are different, but the x's are the same and the y's are the same, but the only difference is the signs are different. So remember, perfect square, a squared minus b squared equals a plus b times a minus b. So we just got to figure out which part does this look like. This looks like the right side. So we got to make it look like the left. So we got to figure out what's my a and what's my b. So our a is x to the 1/2 and my b is y to the 1/2. So we just got to make it look like this, a squared minus b squared. So it's a is x to the 1/2 and then we got to square that, minus b, which is y to the 1/2, and then you got to square that as well. So what do we know about when we raise an exponent, right? So we're raising a power to the exponent. So when you're raising an exponent, you are multiplying those coefficients. So it's like saying 1/2 times 2, which is just 1. So that when you square this, you're just left with x because you get it when you raise it. your new exponent is x to the 1 or just x. Same here, since you're raising exponents, you're multiplying the exponents. So 1/2 times 2 is still 1, which is just y to the 1, or it's just, so your final answer is x minus y. Let's see, a few more, and then what about f? X to the 1/3 plus y to the 1/3. And then you have to cube this. So remember, this is also the sum of two cubes. So if you remember, sum of two cubes looks something like this. A cubed plus b cubed equals a plus b times a square minus ab plus b square, right? That is the sum of two cubes. Let's see here. So we got to figure out which part does this look like, the left or the right? This looks like the left. Okay, so this looks like let's put it in this form. So what is my a? First, we're going to figure out what's our a. My a is x to the 1/3. And our b is y to the 1/3. So we just going to do the a cubed plus b cubed. So a is x to the 1/3, raise it to the 3rd power, plus b to the 1. Our b is y to the 1/3, and then you raise that to the 3rd power as well. This a cubed plus b cubed, it can also be written as a plus b cubed. So remember what happens when you raise the exponents, you're multiplying those powers. So it's really saying 1/3 times 3, which is just 1. So you're just left with x. And then plus 1/3 times 3 is 1, so you're just left with y. So your final answer is just x plus y, and you didn't have to do you didn't have to put it this, because if you did put it in this form, and then when you FOIL it out, everything canceled and you're just left with x plus y. So this is a really good shortcut. Let's do G. Last one. So we have 1 minus 3a times 1 plus 3a plus 9a squared. So we got to FOIL this out. You could do it, I don't want to do it the long way, right? Multiply it individually. So what I'm going to do is do the shortcut using one of my rules. So I know this is the difference of two cubes. And then the difference of two cubes looks something like this. A cubed minus b cubed equals a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. So we got to figure out which part does this look like? This looks like exactly the right side. So we got to make it our left side. So first we got to figure out my a and my b. So my a is 1. Now my b is not, this is where you have to think, is 3a, because when you multiply 9a squared and then 3a squared, you're going to get 27a cubed, right? So it's like saying b cubed. What is, if we use b as 3a, and then if you cube that, that gives me 27a cubed. So that's why I said that my b is 3a. So let's just put it in this form. So it's a cubed minus b cubed. So it's 1 cubed minus b cubed, which is 3a cubed. So 1 cubed is 1, and then minus 3a cubed is negative 27a cubed. So this is your final answer. 1 minus 27a cubed. So yes, those rules comes in handy when you are foiling it out. So this wraps it up for part. What part is this? This is part 4. So this wraps up for part 4.